Welcome, golf fans, pursuers of knowledge in the almighty dollar. This is your golf guru bringing you the 2023 Masters. This is my Milli-Maker pick show. I've got a ton of information, even some stuff that I didn't get to bring in on the preview show, so we're going to cover that. I'm going to go through all the players, look at the analysis that I've got for you, give you my top 20 picks out of this whole field. And with that said, first and foremost, thank you for stopping by. Very excited to share more information with you, get you my picks, and look for a very successful Masters. So with that said, let's go talk a little golf. I always forget, I do have a giveaway for the Masters going on, and if you ask what is it, I'm giving away randomly 5 winners, $100 each, and all you simply need to do to get in this giveaway is click that like button and subscribe if you're not a subscriber, because I need you to tell me in the comments below, who do you think is going to win the Masters? If you've already done this for the Valero or for any of the Masters, please just do it one time. Don't need duplicates. But again, to summarize, 5 random winners will be selected, and all you need to do to get in, click the like button and subscribe if you're not a subscriber, and tell me, who do you think is going to win the Masters? I've already had a lot of feedback, so I appreciate that. Keep it coming. And excited, of course, as we all are, to see how this thing unfolds. All right, so a hot topic with all the rest, with Tiger and LIV and all that, is, of course, weather. And all my hopes are is that we get this tournament done and don't have a Monday finish. But it's not looking great. Of course, this was out last night, actually off the Golf Channel, showing again that chance of thunderstorms in the afternoon. And then, it looks like rain and cool weather, which is not going to bode well for Tiger. And then I went and did some more analysis on this. This is pulling up Wind Finder right before I did the show. And of course, it's Tuesday around noon Eastern time. And you want to pull up the Danfield Airport, is the closest location to the course that will give you a deep kind of forecast off Wind Finder. And again, it's kind of, shows again, weather possible in the afternoon, late afternoon for Thursday. Rain possible, and then the weather starts dropping on Saturday and Sunday. And it looks, at least on Sunday, what their forecast, at least on Wind Finder, is that it's going to be cloudy and cool, but hopefully don't have the rain. And as long as the lightning stays away, electricity in the sky, we should be good. And then I pulled this from the PGA this morning. Also, this is kind of their summary, which I kind of like this one. It kind of does a nice job. And really, all you want to look at is rain, 40% chance. So it'll be warm, and looks like the winds will kick up to 7 to 14, so not too bad. But then when the weather looks like it's really going to hit, you can see the gust up to 20, 25 miles an hour. You can see that coldest day right now forecasted is on Saturday. And yeah, it should be interesting. But with that said, of course, a lot of my picks, I am going to the weather side, because we're, pretty much I don't know, less than 48 hours for this thing to tee off. And so I've got to, of course, pick accordingly. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. And then, of course, we talked a bit about the LIV golfers. I kind of want to just go through this list with you and just give you my high-level thoughts. From my perception, I think there are some guys that you could definitely play in here. And, I'm going to just highlight, and then, of course, when we go in the analysis, we'll dive a little deeper. Guys that I'm interested in. Funny enough, Taylor Gooch, he's actually from a cheapie play. I think he's a pretty good value. Now, where's he at comparative to, when he left us? I believe also, when we'll look at analysis, I think his last tournament also was maybe the Open, but we'll have to look. But he's always been a really good ball striker. Has had some experience here, and we'll dive deeper into it, but a really good price tag. I like DJ. I'm not on the Brooks Koepka hype train because he won a LIV event. We'll see how that all pans out, but of course, Brooks has also missed a cut the last 2 times here. Patrick Reed, I've always try to put aside. I mean, I really liked him, of course, for the Ryder Cup for us, for the U.S. Of course, he's a past champion. The guy's game does fit here. I also like the draw. Now, when he was leaving us, he had a little, he's around the green and putting kind of left a bit. And he also went through the PXG club try and then got rid of those and, had a few. But what we also know is that, I believe it was Abu Dhabi, but I might be incorrect, but it was a DP World Tour event that he competed with Rory, and I think Rory had to make like a 14-foot putt to actually beat him. But so he shows that he's got competitives, pretty strong field. So I feel pretty good with Reed, and of course we'll look at his history at the Masters. And then probably the only guy that I'm looking at from a first time, never played the Masters, would be Mito Pereira from the LIV Guys too. I pulled this up. This was last year in June, and I told you the best comp course for me against Augusta is the Memorial. He had a 13th. You can see he did everything very well and just missed out because the putter could even had a better finish than the 13th, losing 2 strokes. But of course, approach off the tee. I like that he can, work the ball. He can draw the ball. Of course, we all know what happened on 18 when he lost the PGA Championship. Just kind of had a real funky swing, just a really very flat. I know he was trying to hit that low hook, and for whatever reason, it did not, and it stayed out to the right, went in the creek, and that was that. And then it kind of struggled to even get down. I think he ended up in 3rd after all said and done. But those are the guys. And then we're going to talk about Cam Smith, because you guys all know that I'm a huge Cam Smith slappy, so we'll talk a little bit about his presser yesterday. The other thing I want to note is this was also the Golf Channel I pulled, and I liked it. What have these guys done? Now, it's been a very small sample, right? We have the U.S. Open, and then, of course, the Open was since the kind of the split. Now, this does not take into consideration Cam Smith because he was still with the PGA Tour until after the Open. But if you look at how the LIV guys have, fared, those 13 of them played in the U.S. Open. The best finish was Dustin Johnson at T24. No top 10s, and the cut percentage out of those 13 guys was only 15%. And then if you look at the Open, there was 24 players there. T6 for DJ again, their best showing. And I think I highlighted that. Yeah, I was also interested in playing Dustin Johnson. We'll get into the analysis from the LIV guys. Top 10%, of course, you got DJ at 8%, without, again, including Cam Smith. And then made cut, you had 45%, so a little better, which makes sense, right? A lot of the guys on the LIV that we were just talking about are from Europe and, typically will fare pretty good in the Open. So just thought that was kind of an interesting piece of information they pulled. And then let's talk about Cam Smith's press yesterday. So, if you kind of want to track Cam Smith, what an amazing year he had in 2022. And then, of course, won the Open, stuck around, of course, also before that for the FedEx to get his money for that. And then right after the Open, and you could tell in his pressers, he just wasn't sharing a lot. And I think we all had quite a feeling with the Greg Norman relationship with his really good friend, Mark Leishman, also going over to LIV beforehand, that it was inevitable. Then Cam Smith went off and played in the Australian Open, I believe it is, and won that. And that was in November timeframe. And then after that, the guy just, stated, and you could watch the presser, it was yesterday, that he pretty much dropped the clubs, didn't touch them, or just fished and hung out with family over in Australia, spent a long time there. And then, made his way back over and has played in 3 LIV events, which I showed yesterday that, nothing really good. He even states his game is not where he, would want it. I think prior to 2022, he mentioned that he worked really hard at Ponte Vedra where he lives and worked on a lot of, little swing tweaks, we'll call, changes that he knew he needed, and then went into the 2022 season. Of course, Blitz Creek, the Tournament of Champions, just beating Rahm by 1 stroke, shooting 34 under, just ridiculous. Won the Players, won the Open, almost won the Master. I mean, the guy just had an amazing career. But I'm a huge Cam Smith fan, but I'm actually going to be sticking away from him. I know that he also states in that, he's had times in his career that he's came here, didn't have the greatest beginning of the season, but then just really enjoys his course and this kind of springboarded. So for his price tag, and again, this is all talking about from a DFS perspective, it's kind of hard to pay the price. I believe he's up around 10 grand, high 9s, for a guy that, I just think where he's coming in at is pretty bad. I mean, will he make the cut? Probably, but I don't expect, a top 25 finish. And for his price tag to pay off, he needs to at least, almost top 15, top 10, if not really top 5. So that's my thoughts on Cam, but we'll get more into the analysis as we go along. And then, of course, the other big topic is Tiger Woods. He's actually, his odds, how I see it, has actually gotten, better from a perspective of 80-1. If you are the average person that just, kind of checks in for the Masters and maybe the Ryder Cup, that kind of thing, what you should know, because, there's going to be a little bit out there as well. Well, he won it in 2019. Nobody expected him to do that. Well, let's take a look at what he's done since the 2019 Masters. And again, this came off the Golf Channel. And of course, played, had the accident, played a lot less golf. But I mean, he had a miscut at the Open, a withdrawal at the PGA. And I'm working my way backwards. He did make the cut at the Masters. But then, of course, the walk and all that didn't do well. A T38 in the 2020 Masters, miscut the U.S. Open. A T37 at the PGA, a miscut at the Open. A T21, and then a miscut at the PGA Championship in 2019. So that's how he's looked in the majors since his win at the Masters. And then what I think is more important, and I think even I maybe forget, but a lot of people say, well, that came, the 2019 win kind of came out of nowhere or was not expected. Well, it's kind of interesting to hear that, right? Because if you track back and look at, I don't know, what the 10 tournaments before he played in leading up to that Masters. I mean, he had a second at the PGA in 2018. He won the FedEx Cup, had a sixth at the BMW, then won the FedEx Cup championship, the tour, well, won the tour championship, I should say. I believe at that time it was still split where you could be the FedEx Cup winner and the tour, win the actual event, which he did. Pretty solid finishes on very tough tracks, the Farmers, the Genesis, right, the Riv, you got Torrey Pines, and not a bad showing at the Players, but where, you can see he was playing a lot more competitive reps. And also, again, this was before the accident. He'll state that this is the worst injury he's ever dealt with, above and, getting the back fuse, that the ankle, being pretty much a lot of steel in there, is a total different ball game. And so I just want to kind of note that, if you are thinking of betting on Tiger 81, have at it. But you got to understand, we're talking about a total different thing from back 2018, 2019 to what he's dealing with now. And it's awesome. I'm a huge fan of Tiger, and I'm excited that he's, here. And this, we don't have that many more tournaments, so we get to see Tiger. I want to keep it real. And if you are thinking of betting, well, just know that, there's a reason why you're getting them at 80 to 1. And then lastly, a thing that I didn't really touch on was the amateurs in the field. There's going to be some names that you don't know when you get down into the 6,000 range for, DraftKings. And of course, my personal opinion would be Sam Bennett. I would have some interest in playing. I think he's at 6,200. I think out of these guys, I think he is the elite talent. Harrison Crow, I believe, also comes out of Australia. He won the Asia Pacific. You can just see how these guys, the Latin America, which I believe is they play with the Puerto Rico at this course, the Puerto Rican Open. This Mateo Fernandez de Oliveira. I'm probably mess that up. You got this Card, Sargent. So these names, just so you know, they're all the amateur guys. They're playing for the low am. I mean, amazing if somehow these guys like top 20, top 30, but for me, in a DFS perspective for the Milli-Maker, if I was going to plug one guy in, it would be Sam Bennett. And that's just my personal opinion. I mean, the guy's been amazing through his college career. Okay, and then I wanted to just show you my betting card where I kind of finalized, because yesterday, like at that time, I just had can't lay in, and I had a lot of kind of interest and thoughts, but really didn't make my picks. But with seeing the weather, and the more I just kind of thought about it, I'll let you in. So I didn't actually do right now any top 10s. The reason why is because the odds and the bookmakers, you can limit this field quite a bit as you kind of work through it, and they know that. Maybe you've got 30 guys max that have a good chance of winning. Now, it is golf, and can something crazy happen like Mickelson winning the PGA Championship in 2021? It can happen. But with that said, of course, even with the weather, here's where I ended up in my pick. So, of course, Scotty Scheffler, I see no reason why he can't go back-to-back. I actually got him at 9 to 1. Just side note, this is pulling, I believe, off DraftKings Sportsbook. You already know about Patrick Cantlay. His odds already went down, but I got him at 18 to 1. With the eye on that this is going to be kind of a mutters, maybe 4 or 5 under wins this tournament. Maybe, just I think it's going to be a little interesting. I like Xander in that kind of just dogfight. Victor Hovland is interesting to me at 35 to 1. And the reason why I'm going Victor and why I bet him, and just so you know, they had a quick little flash presser with him. And I do believe he says he's got so many more tools that he's worked on around the greens and can do so many different shots that he could not previously. I mean, really, it comes down to the putter. So I'm looking, again, I'm kind of leaning to guys where Victor has no issues with the weather, right? I believe, I'm going to probably mess this up, Norwegian, I think, right? Like golfing at 50 degrees for him is nothing. Like that's a warm summer's day from where he played. I just, again, look at him as a guy that can really handle the weather conditions, and you really need a good ball striker who typically hits fairways, is going to have longer irons, and with this kind of weather and the wet fairways. So that's kind of the thoughts on Victor. It's actually my larger kind of bet is on Victor. Justin Rose, same thing. I mean, I think through a mutter kind of just crappy track, I liked what I've been seeing out of him. I like him at 55 to 1. Shane Lowry, of course, past Open winner in some of the craziest conditions. Now, Shane Lowry's game hasn't been exactly where I'd like to see it, but of course he had a third place here last year. He does hit a lot of fairways. It's really going to come down to the putter. I'm curious where it's rating him right now. 76. So if he can actually get the putter going, I mean, he's got soft hands around the green. I have no issues with that. Tommy Fleetwood, again, I mean, he's never won a tournament. I mentioned this on American soil, but has won not too long ago on the DP World Tour. We got to see pretty solid golf out of him through the Florida swing. So, I don't have issues. Adam Scott, this is quite a flyer, but at 100 to 1, past champion. You know, the guy knows how to get his way around here. It's going to come out of the putter, and also his irons have really kind of fallen back. You know, off the tee's been pretty good. Let's take a look at that. You know, 83rd, not the greatest, but I think it's better than that, to be honest, my own personal opinion. Sahith Theegala, this is the only rookie that I'm betting who's never played, at least in a competitive event at Augusta. Of course, I'm sure he's done quite a bit of practice, but the reason why I like Sahith is just, again, knowing his game. I think he could do well in these kind of conditions, the ability to work the ball. At times can get very hot with the putter. So, and then my long shot, which I talked a little bit about this yesterday, would be Harris English at 250 to 1. You know, I think he's got the skill set. You can kind of see, even over the last 12 rounds, what he's been doing. Had a good finish at, I believe it was the Valspar. I might flip him around, but he, showed up. And like I said, I mean, the guy's got good hands, good putter, has played this track quite a bit in the past. So that's kind of where my betting card lies. You know, I'm looking at Max Home. I think he's 22 to 1 or something like that, or 25 to 1. So I might throw that bet in too, which is not on here, but that's about it from a betting side. Okay, so with that said, let's go jump over to Fantasy National. Let's go do some analysis on these guys, let you know where I'm interested. And then I'll come back, I'll summarize and give you guys my top 20 picks. Okay, so I've hopped over to Fantasy National. And again, as always, if you are putting any kind of money into DFS or in the betting market and you want to do your own analysis, I highly recommend you checking this out. Out of all the years I've been doing this, this is the tool that I highly recommend. All right, as always, also, we're going to be looking at DraftKings pricing. But if you are playing in FanDuel or Yahoo or whatever kind of format, you could still use the picks. The pricing is probably going to be a bit different. And just so you know, as always, I've done already a lot of pre-analysis on this. I've, checked the Windy. I checked them against Memorial. Done my due diligence to get this kind of narrowed down. 23 that I'm going to talk about, but at the end, I'm going to just give you my top 20 picks broken down by the cost level. So how I typically try to do this for you guys is kind of go through each cost bracket and give you my favorite plays within there, so you can actually use them to build a DFS lineup. This isn't, hey, I'm going to pick the top 10 guys and that's who I think is going to win. All right, so what are you looking at here, especially if you're new to this information? I call this they call it a sneak peek within Fantasy National, but it is a dashboard. And what is it? You can kind of build a 5-stroke game mini model, which really emphasizes on the 5 key areas that you want to focus on. So I did that. You can weight that. I'll bring that up for you real quick. And they're all at 20% dead across the board, because I think all of it you need to do very well. And of course, if you don't understand what good drives are, I mentioned this in the preview show, there's a couple different ways you can look at off the tee. You can look at off the tee, which is, hitting fairways with distance. You can look at driving distance and then trying to turn on like fairways, or good drives. And what good drives means is that you are hitting it in a position in the fairway or the intermediate cut to then have an opportunity to hit the green. So, you can kind of say, well, what's all the difference? Typically what I see with good drives, I like better. It also can pull information that maybe if a stroke gain like at the Masters is not available. Okay, so with that said, the other thing that we're looking at here, you got salary, projected ownership as we speak, cuts made. And then this is another area we can look at. And typically I do birdies, but because again, this is not going to be a birdie fest, it's going to be try to manage not having a double bogey, triple bogey. So bogey avoidance. So what have they done over the last 24 rounds? And you want to see this kind of graph working its way up with a lot of green. And of course, we get to look at recent results, which shows you the last 5 tournaments that they played in and their finishes. And then of course, tournament history. And when you see this, they're kind of including late DJ win, which was technically November, if I remember correctly, of 2020. But if you see 21, it's just kind of a hiccup on Fantasy National. So right out the bat, you've got 3 guys that are 10,000 and above. And it's pretty hard, really hard, to try to pair 2 of these guys together and actually have a 6-6 get through. That's my opinion from just putting some teams quickly together. I haven't actually done all my DFS lineups yet, but this is why I kind of go through this process and I get to share it with you guys. So you got to make a decision here, and I'm not saying you could literally, depending on how many lineups you're going to put in, I think you could start with any 3 of these guys, right? I mean, it's the big 3. They've all been playing great. Of course, Rory, you probably heard some rumblings that he went here, I believe was when he missed the cut at the Players and came out and played, I think, 54 holes, like over a 2-day span, and just was lighting it up. Now, of course, that is practice and kind of a whole different thing. And typically with Rory, right? He typically in the majors comes out to a slow start and then kind of ramps it up, as he goes along. So also you see the putter. Now this is pulling in the past 24 rounds. I don't have any filters on, so this is not pulling in bent greens, but you can see out of the top three, the putter has been at least over the last 6 tournaments he's played in. This is not pulling in his win on the DP World Tour either. So I wouldn't take that. I mean, what I've seen in the putter, and of course, we just watched him at the Dell Match Play do amazing and, make it to the Final Four, if you want to call it, and play against Scotty for the runner-up, third place finish. But yeah, I have no problem with any of these guys. And of course, Rahm, I believe he's got 3 wins if you include, and I'm already forgetting, but Tournament of Champions. He won the Genesis, and I'm forgetting one. I feel like he had a third one already this year, but neither here or there. The guy's been great. Of course, his game, probably after the Arnold Palmer, he kind of mentioned in his press that, not that it was a setback, but it just didn't go well. And then he had a stomach bug at the Players, so withdrew before the second round. And then I don't believe he made it out of his pool for the match play, right? I know Ricky beat him, and then I'm trying to remember who else was in there, but neither here or there. Again, out of these guys, I got to go with the past champion. Looking for him to go back to back. The guy has just been played amazing. And also what I know about Scotty, if you put on that crazy, wind filter, the guy typically, again, is from Texas, does very well in windy conditions. And all these guys, even Rahm and Rory, it's not like they are terrible when the wind blows and it's cold. But Scotty, I believe, I don't know if he came out number 1. I think it was Finau that comes out number 1, but neither here or there, does very well in that. So I don't think I have to go into a ton of details with these guys. These are the betting favorites. And, from starting out your lineups, this is, if you're going to have one of these guys, my pick would be Scotty over Rahm and Rory. Now, again, will I make some lineups depending on how many I do with these guys? Probably for me, honestly, be Scotty, Rory, then Rahm, if you want to know. You kind of see last year, if you want to see finishes, I mean, again, a lot of top 10s and a T27. Rory missed a cut in 2021, but again, a couple top 5s where he had the chance to win. Forget the year now. Let me go take a look. I think it was when he drove it and hit the house. I believe that was 2013. I could be wrong. Let's see here. Nope, maybe 2014 I'm thinking about, or 15. Maybe it was 15. But of course, the guy, everybody's waiting. Of course, if he wins this, then he completes the career Grand Slam. So he's got that pressure. I don't know. You could sit there and look at all kinds of narratives on why you would want to go one way or the other. But my pick will be Scotty. All right, let's move along. So I mentioned Cam Smith, and again, it's kind of hard to look at this information, but if you went off 2022 and what you knew about Cam Smith, unless you watch a lot of the LIV Tour, you'd be like, oh, hey, it's Cam Smith. He had a, second here. Well, actually ended up third, a second in 2021. I mean, the guys had a great finishes, but how do I go with a guy that's almost 10,000 in a DFS setting that literally he's even stated his game is not where he wishes it was. You see his 3 LIV events, not very good out of 48 guys. And again, he even stated that the competition when they play in a LIV event is nowhere, well, he didn't say nowhere near, but it's definitely not as competitive as a PGA Tour event. So with all that said, could Cam come out here and the putter goes nuts? But I've also watched Cam struggle. He struggled here even last year with the driver. I'm not expecting a whole lot. Will he make the cut? I think so. Will he make a top 20? I don't know. And that's where I'm at. Like last time going into this, I had him last year, he's your winner. And that's where I was set and came very close to doing that, but just didn't pull it off at the end. Jordan Spieth, this was a tough one. Of course, he missed a cut last year. It was, kind of very shocking for everybody. And of course, past winner and set a top, third or top T3s. I mean, the guy's had an amazing career record here. He's hitting the ball great. The only thing that's got me a little nervous with Jordan is the putter and his up and down round still going from, I mean, do you want to bet him a first round leader? Yeah, definitely knock your socks off. That wouldn't be bad. And again, I'm not saying it's a terrible play. It's just hard with the rest of these guys to pay 9,700. I've got some other guys down here I'd rather play from a DFS perspective. Now, again, I don't think there's any reason why you can't put them in a lineup or two. It's all depending on how many you put in. But if you're putting in one lineup, it's not for me. If you're putting in, 50 lineups, and of course, play some Jordan Spieth. Who knows? He could actually win this thing. But I just, at this moment, yeah, I'm kind of on hold. Again, he had a good showing at the Valspar. Actually had a chance to win that and kind of, fell fell back on Sunday, and a bit again was missing some putts that typically Jordan makes. Well, again, I kind of have him right now in the camp of if it's outside of 15, 20 feet, watch out. He's probably going to make it. And if it's inside 5 feet, hold tight. You don't know what's going to happen. Okay. The guy that I'm going to be playing at that, at 9,500, so a couple $100 cost savings, is Patrick Cantlay. I talked a bit about this in the preview show. For whatever reason, he was one of the first guys that I thought of that I wanted to bet, and felt like the odds at the time were pretty good comparative to the other guys. Of course, he had a chance here, as I mentioned, in 2019. He's at a 17th. He missed a cut in 2021, and nothing great in T39. So, yeah, I would kind of give it a mix of a course history. But the guy on bent greens, I've just seen it over and over and over. I also mentioned the comp to the BMW Championship last year, the Memorial where he's won and done great at Jack's Place. And he's been putting together, he had a nice showing at the Arnold Palmer, at the Genesis, the Players was, okay. He did miss a cut at the Phoenix. I do remember him stating, because I was trying to figure out what was going on, Patrick. He had a real slow start to the 2023 year, and he just came out and said, hey, I was testing a bunch of different equipment. I've found the equipment that I'm going with for the rest of the year, and that was pretty much right starting at the Genesis. So I don't have an issue there. Also, just how steady. I think the mentality of the guys that win here just have to be can't be up and down, kind of emotional. I'm not saying that's a key thing, but it's an outside thing that I think he just really can hold himself together, and he's just very solid on everything. So that's why I'm going with Cantlay kind of over a Spieth. JT, I thought about this long and hard. I don't think it's a bad play at all. If you remember, not this Players, but the previous, we had quite a bit of wind and weather, and he had some amazing rounds there. But the putter, man, it's just been so off and on. Everything else, I have no issues. He's great, maybe one of the better, maybe top three around the green. From that 100 in, he's amazing, and hits the long irons. Like, everything is good. It's just literally the putter. You can see the bogey avoidance is one of the lower out of all these guys. So could he have a blow up hole? Yeah, it could happen. When I say a blow up, a double bogey, I don't mean like, a quad or anything like that, but pretty solid. A T8 last year, T21, a fourth in that, we'll call it the November Masters, a T12. So, we'll just call it a lot of top 20s over the last 5 years. Everything should work well. The driver can get a little wayward for him too. I mean, showing pretty good here. Again, this is over the past 6 tournaments, 24 rounds played, but it's really about the putter. And so the guy that I'm going to go to, which, even from an odds perspective, he's 25-1, that, he's not done well in any major. But I think that time is coming, and I just really like with the weather that I'm seeing and him, the ability to grind it out. I'm pretty excited about Max. Of course, he's won on some really big courses, right? I mean, Wells Fargo, at Quail, he's won at Riviera. The guy's kind of like record of where his wins are amazing. You can see also from a stroke gain, the guy's been really good. Around the green, I guess, would be his only chink in the armor. And again, I mentioned how important it is. But, like I said, I'm sure that he should do better. And I think, ownership's going to be down on Max. And so, again, we're talking about the Milli-Maker. You got to look for some differentiation, and that's where I'll go for that. And with the hope that Max gets his, first top 10 at a major, put it that way. Okay, next guy will be Colin Morikawa. If you remember, also last year, Rory chipped in, and they were playing together. And, of course, Colin did too, which brought, he had a really good Sunday. Pretty solid. I mean, he's trending in the right way, a 44th and 18th and 5th. But you can kind of see he's been a little Jekyll and Hyde. A lot of that's got to do with the putter. You can see out of this field, he's ranked one of the lowest putters out of it. And he's kind of had that ups and downs. I mean, everything else is good to go. So if the putter goes, which, he's had some putting success here, no problems. But it's just, again, you got to make a decision. And again, the guy, and for me, it's kind of like, well, Morikawa versus Xander and Tony. I'm going to go with Xander and Tony over. So again, dropping down to the 9,000 range. Xander also didn't have, you can see, he hasn't had the greatest, but I really liked what I saw at the WGC. Match play also, he's had a T2, a T3. He missed a cut last year. I don't remember, it was like a flight advantage. Going back, I'd have to kind of pick my brain on that. But, long story short, I'm looking for guys that can grind it out. And this is a grinder. You can see bogey avoidance. The guy's also looks like his game's gotten a little better into form, even over the beginning of the year. So I'm in on Xander. Moving down to Tony Finau. Again, this goes back to I told you, if you look at the weather conditions, he typically, over the past, I think it was 8 rounds of really crazy wins, actually ranked number 1. If you want to see that, let me click on it real quick. Okay, so just real quick, if you're interested, what I did is I just clicked on the windy as fuck tab, and I pull in the last 12 rounds. So keeping it kind of recent, you got to remember that it's got to be like wins of 20 plus up to like 30 for it to fall into this category. And you don't get a ton of that. So this probably pulls in, I don't know, like the last, I'd say probably back to midsummer last year, I would guess. And Tony Finau comes up number 1 in those rankings. Hoagie, you got M. Keegan Bradley does do good in those conditions. Corey, Homa, you got JT Rom, Abe Answer, but again, that's pre or LIV. You got Kokrak and Answer. So a couple ideas, I guess, from a LIV side if you're interested. Mito, there's Scotty, Shane Lowry, Harris English. So a lot of the guys that I'm kind of looking at to play, just so you know, under the windy conditions, probably going back, 8 months or so, pulling that kind of data in. All right. Okay. So let's keep moving along. I just wanted to show you that if you're interested on the windy conditions side. All right. Where was I at? Tony Finau. And so, yeah, I mean, Tony, of course, had in the fall, of course, he won the 3M Open. He won the Rocket, had a good FedEx Cup showing, won Houston Open, and then, Tournament of Champions, Farmers. I mean, the guy's been playing really good golf and just solid. And I kind of like that price tag. He's, less than 9,000. So I'm all over that. Now, I think this is my first LIV guy that I'll be playing and recommending. I think you're really getting a kind of a steal. I mean, the guy has been even playing pretty well on the LIV Tour. And the guy, again, you got to remember the ball that he hits, how the distance, his putter, as you see, is definitely the issues. I think he even mentioned in his little, flash presser that didn't putt the ball as well. But again, from a ball striking perspective, you can't do any worse. And then around the green, I go back to the Ryder Cup of what he did. Now, that's a while ago. Bogey avoidance hasn't been the greatest. But again, this is going back to the Open where he had a T6. Good showing at the U.S. Open. And I showed that out of all the LIV guys. The last 2 majors, he's had the best showings. And then, of course, he won, which, the asterisk November Masters. But, it is what it is. But had a nice T12 here last year. Does well at this course. And if anybody, I believe, is going to really show well for the LIV guys, it's going to be DJ. And so for 8,800, I feel like if he's been on the PGA Tour and showing pretty decent form, of course, it'd be pretty crazy if he wasn't probably at least 9,500 up to the 10,000 range. Okay, Jason Day, but everything was telling me I was going to play Jason Day. And I'm not saying don't play Jason Day. And will he go into some lineups? Yes. But after listening to his presser and his mental kind of thoughts, I feel like he's got a bit of pressure mentally on him. And he's been saying that he's playing with a lot of swing thoughts, and depending on how the swing thoughts kind of hold up. I mean, he's going to go in my lineups. Don't get me wrong. But I'm just saying at this range, I'd rather play a DJ, a Finau, and a Victor over Jason Day. And that's how it came in. But I'm not saying not to play him. Of course, he's missed a cut here too last year, but I'm not worried about that. I think his game is such a better place. A resurgent like a Ricky Fowler, even like a Justin Rose who won at Pebble Beach. So good to go. Play Jason Day. I'm just telling you he didn't make my main core top 20. Cameron Young, of course, won the Dell match. Didn't win. I should take that back. Okay, Cameron Young, who has had a ton of second places on some tough tracks. He's played here once, missed the cut, and of course had just an amazing WGC Dell match play, just losing out to Burns. I've got to go back to what I've seen, and I just don't feel it here at 8,600. I'm not betting Cam Young here, and maybe this is all going to go sideways for me. Maybe this is where he gets his first win, but this is the area that I'm kind of most nervous about. And, like I said, a WGC match play, but don't forget, kind of struggle with the players. Okay at the Arnold Palmer, the Genesis where he kind of had that runner-up, him and Joaquin Niemann battling over the previous year. I don't know. I didn't see it coming at the Dell match play, I'll tell you that, especially for that course. Of course, I always mention at Austin Country Club, the back nine kind of fits the more the bomber, but the front nine you have to be. But the guy his irons were en fuego, and he just played amazing. But for me, it's the Masters, and he's only had one time around this track, so I'm going to say no. I'm going to rather go with Victor. And you could see, Victor, this will be his fourth time here. I feel like he's learned more. Yes, I'm a huge Victor Slappy, very excited, but I'm excited from what he was talking about, what he's been really working around the green. It's going to come down the putter with Victor. That's reason why he's not been as scoring as well, is that putter, has been a little cold, but you can see kind of trending in a better direction. His real last showing, if you don't take in the Dell match play, would be the Players. And so, I don't know. I kind of like Victor's game. I'm also expecting that the weather and, what I know with Victor, I think he will have no issues handling the weather. So that's the guy that I'm going to fall to at 8,500, putting in quite a few. Hideki, I'll just make it real simple. The neck has got me still worried, especially in this cold weather and wind. Now, funny enough, Hideki and windy conditions, typically really good ball strikers are going to fare well. So if the neck doesn't bother him for 8,400, like I said, will I totally eliminate him? No. Am I going to play a lot of them, or probably even, let's say, 20% of my lineups? No. But will he get sprinkled in? Yes. I'm a huge Sam Burns fan too, but of course the WGC match play was a little bit I don't want to say out of nowhere. He has been trending, and so I mentioned, and I believe the recap, listening to his caddy talk about what happened at the WGC. He just kind of said that not too far off from a Cam Smith, that Sam took a long break. He's a big hunter, kind of just, put the clubs away, put the game away, and, kind of had a rough kind of start. He had a good show at the Phoenix, but, didn't have the greatest West Coast. And then you can see, we were trying to figure out, like, well, the Valspar, right? He's had back-to-back championships there. Is this going to translate? And I wasn't too sure about, again, pool play. He's never played at the match play, and then, of course, goes out and win it first time. So welcome to golf. And could Burns come out and do, decent here? Sure. I mean, he's played here once, had a cut, but for 8,300, I've got other guys that I'm interested in. And Will Z, I mean, I talked about this in the preview show. My personal feeling is Will Z's game is going to take a while if it ever gets back to where it was before pre-injury. Mentioning that his win at the first event at TPC, I believe Southwind, they call it now the FedEx Cup event. I don't even know if it has an actual name, but it's the start of the FedEx Cup. And he won there, and then he had to withdraw the B&W, and then he, didn't have surgery, did a bunch of rehab, but he took like 4 or 5 months off. You can see it's been kind of hit or miss. The Genesis, he showed up. Of course, now to flip this around, the guy just loves this course, I guess, and just putts extremely well. But again, what I've been seeing with the putts inside 5-6 feet, which I think is crucial inside 10, is just made me terrified. You can see projected ownership's a bit low. So you got to kind of figure, if you want to get, again, a differentiation, but he's trending not in the right way. A lot of it's got to be due to the putter, but, hypothetically, let's say the putter changes and he's feeling good with the back and away it goes. I mean, a guy we know. So that's a tough one. Will I have a lineup or two with him? Probably, depending, again, if I put in, 30, 40, 50 lineups. But right now, he's not making my lower player pool. I'd rather go with Sungjae M. He's got a second, which that would be the DJ year, and then a miscut, and then a T8. And the guy also just plays well in bad weather. Just because, the guy he's like a robot in my mind. Like the guy just hitting fairways, irons, 8,100. You can see projected ownership right now is pretty high on him. So, yeah, I'm going to be playing a bit of Sungjae M. Fitzy, I can't do it, man. You really haven't shown me a lot. Now, if Fitzy was 100% healthy, also he's dealing with the neck thing. But, man, when I was watching him at the Dell match play, he had like one where the guy didn't even know where the ball was going. And that's pretty crazy. You can see his irons are just disaster. But Fitzy has played here. He's had, never missed a cut over the last 5 years. So you're kind of in between. And typically I like Fitzy in a grudge match. And also, of course, he's European. He's been over here for a while and lives in Florida. But, he definitely should be able to handle himself in those conditions. Typically does. But I just can't do it with what I've been seeing. So I'm going to go to Lowry, as I kind of mentioned. Shane Lowry I'm interested in. Of course, the putter has been pretty bad. But, had a nice showing here, a 25th, a 21st, a 3rd. Guy hits a lot of fairways, good ball striker, pretty soft hands, pretty good around the greens. It's just going to come down to the putter. And I'm kind of hoping that projected ownership stays low, because if the weather happens, he's the one guy I feel like could come out of there. Terrell Hatton, I don't know. I just feel like something went kind of down. I mean, I watched the Delmash play, right? You had the whole hand wrist thing that was going on. What I did here was that he was getting kind of like shoots of pain in the hand, but that's gone. And from everything I understand, he was totally fine for the WGC match play. But I don't know. I have to think about that. I mean, 7,900, man, it's hard not to want to play him a little bit, especially if this ownership stays low. So I got to figure that out. But right now, he's not making the play. I'm actually going to go to JR. And funny enough, like I'm noticing like some of my picks seem a little chalky at this point, which, hopefully we'll see as we go on. But 15% ownership right now. Of course, he won at Pebble Beach and, a bit of wind there typically. Even though, if I remember right, yes, it was cool, but it wasn't that windy at Pebble Beach this year. Had a nice showing at the Players. Of course, he had a chance to win here. It's been a while. I think this was, I don't know if it was back in the Adam Scott win where he had a chance. I think he was there with Jason Day and JR, but that was 10 years ago now. I like what I've been seeing. Good putter. He's played a ton here. Let's go click on him. And I haven't been going in a lot of these guys. I pretty much know most of the things I want to see, but let's just see if I click the Masters. I think it was 2013. No, maybe not. It was 2012, where I feel like he really competed. 2015, hit another. And then, of course, he had, I think it was 2021 where he came out and he led after the first round. And really, before that, was showing no form. So the guy can definitely do it here. And I like JR at 7,800. Joaquin Niemann, you see, funny enough, not the greatest history at the Memorial or at the Masters. I've stated that I think he's one of the more better talents that's on the LIV Tour, but the putter around the green, and I just haven't got to see a lot of them. Of course, he left playing really good golf. Already won the Genesis, and let me go see here. He also won it. His first one was at which at the time was the military tribute at TPC Greenbrier, which that tournament hasn't been around for a little while. Hold on a second. Yeah, so you can see the Greenbrier was his first win, and then his next one, of course, was the Genesis, where he just played unconscious. Just want to scroll through here, and I want to actually go back to see what he was doing before he left. So, pretty good FedEx Cup showing. Got to remember smaller fields like 40, 70, right, 125 at that time. Good showing at the Memorial. So why did was it him that I thought didn't have a good showing? Oh, all right. Well, he's had kind of a mixed bag, a couple of miscuts, but he did have a good showing right before. I don't know. I mean, I might have to play a little bit of Joaquin Niemann out of those guys, even though, like I said, he's not making my top 20 player pool, won't be the most spins. So, yeah, I'm going to have to think about that one. But my recommendation for Niemann is at 7,800. I'll do the ownership tomorrow, final kind of weather look, and anything else I see. And I have to kind of make a call. But right now, he wasn't really on my radar and not making my top 20. Tom Kim, you can see his game has kind of went back as we've gotten to these harder courses. And so here's my narrative about Tom Kim. And it's so still early to make this call. But where he had his wins was at two of the easier courses and just, higher scoring courses, of course, Shriners and the Wyndham. Now, the Wyndham maybe a little, Shriners is just a pure score fest. The Wyndham, I could say, is, could be a little more tougher. And of course, I think that was where he came out and shot, like a quad or something like that, ridiculous, and then went on to win the tournament. Where I'm going with this, and this has not been validated, I'm still trying, but where I'm leaning is right now, I'm trying to figure out if Tom Kim, when it gets to very tough tracks and tough fields, and he's still very young in his career. I mean, like still, I consider him a rookie. I guess I like him in more like, the Amex, maybe Pebble Beach, Shriners, like kind of more scoring fest. And it has to get validated. So right now, of course, also, this will be his first time around this track. He played, as you saw, a practice round. I believe it was with Rory, Tiger, and Fred Couples yesterday. So, I mean, man, the guys, I think they're trying to groom him to be like, one of the top guys. And like I said, all for it. Seems like a great guy, had a great President's Cup, but right now I can't do it. Not for me. I'm going to go again back to more experience. And again, back to the weather. Of course, Tommy Fleetwood. I don't want to say he's never missed a cut here, but at least the last 5 years, he's not. Let's go check it out real quick because I know he's got a longer history in 5 years. All right, hold on here. Sometimes the way this goes in, you just got to type. So he's got what? He's played here 6 times. He did miss a cut his first time in 2017, but other than that, a bunch of kind of top 20s. Really never pushed to contend. The last would have been last year. But for the price tag, give me a top 15, top 20 at 7,700, and that definitely pays that off. You can also see ownership. But again, I think people are probably going to lean a little bit. It'll probably be quite a bit of narrative playing guys that we think, right? I mean, Fleetwood was the only guy really in contention with Lowry when he won the Open. So maybe that's part of it too. Let's go look at that real quick. I believe that was what, Royal St. George, if I'm correct. So let's look at the Open. Yeah, 2019. So it's been a Royal Portrush. My bad. I think the next one was at St. George. But Tommy Fleetwood, I'm interested in. Koepka, like I said, no, thank you. If it happens, great. But no. I mean, again, I haven't put eyes on the guy since. But with all the injuries, I mean, I know he must be back playing better. He's won, a LIV event, but on a course, I don't know. Like everything I heard about that course, it was even I think Cam Smith stated that you can't compare it. The only I think even they asked DJ and he said the only way you could put Augusta and we'll call it the Orlando Muni course. I have no idea what it is. In the same breath is literally just saying, hey, I played there this week and now I'm playing Augusta. Like so. Do what you want. I'm off on Koepka, and 7,600. I don't know. I'm gonna watch projected ownership. If he was like literally like less than 3, that's when I would play Koepka. But I feel like this is gonna get steamed up even more as this goes on. I'm gonna go to Min Woo Lee. I mean, the guy played here last year, had a T14. The guy showed up at the Players, the Honda. The guy also, of course, comes New Zealand, if I'm correct. Almost like an Aussie, I feel like, but I don't think he's not. I think he's from New Zealand. Neither here or there. Of course, played quite a bit on the DP World Tour. He's an elite talent, and I'm curious where the ownership will fall on him. Right now, it's showing like 11, but I like Min Woo Lee. I wouldn't look at a lot of this, right? You got some Corn Ferry stuff in here. We just don't have enough data within Fantasy National to show you a lot, but I believe he's won twice on the DP World Tour. The guy's elite. I mean, you got to see quite a bit of him at the Players, had a chance. I think came in and played in the last group and just, had one really bad hole that kind of threw him off with a triple bogey. But yeah, I like Min Woo Lee. Corey Connors, we talked quite a bit about this. Of course, coming off, I think he's going to be crazy projected ownership. It could be a chalk bomb too. I mean, it could be the thing waiting to explode. But I mean, just won the Valero, had a T8, a T6, a T10. The guy is a great ball striker, can handle himself in the wind. Which we saw at the Valero, and then back-to-back, well, not back-to-back, but 2 times winning at the Valero. And the guy putts here for whatever reason. Now, I don't have the stroke gain data in front of me. You can't really get it. I mean, I could look at day golf, but if I remember correctly, he gained like a couple of strokes with the putter against the field. So it's kind of crazy, but it is a thing. And I'm a huge Corey Connor fan. So that's kind of part of it too, right? If you have guys that you just really like and like to play, I think you got to do that. I mean, if somehow they end up doing well and you didn't play them, nothing's kind of worse. So on all those fronts, that's why I'm playing Corey. Actually, was interested in playing Adam Scott. I bet him at 100-1, which I think I stated. I think that's where I'm going to leave it. You can see not the greatest going on here from a stats perspective. It feels like his game, and a lot of it's to do with the irons. I feel like the putter kind of came back. The driver was okay. Of course, he's a past champion here. I mentioned 10 years ago. I might put him in here or there. DeChambeau, I think he's still he's made that transition now, kind of going back to the pre bulk up crazy swing into DeChambeau. He did a quick presser. I think he's every guy you hear is like, oh, my game's trending in the right way. Like, what does that mean? Of course, he dealt with the hand issue, and I don't know. Yeah, I don't think he's been playing that well on the LIV, if I remember right. Looking at it, and of course, he's really never done anything at this tournament. Which is hilarious. Like I said a couple of years ago, I'll never forget, everybody was touting him to just smoke this course. Even he was stating that to him, it's really like a par 67, the way he plays and yada, yada, yada. And so, I talked about Thigala. I did bet him, and I'm going to play him. He didn't make my top 20, but he's going to get into some of my lineups. Of course, the guys, had some chances to win. I think about the Waste Management prior. Played some tough tracks. The guy, I like the way he works the ball. I like his flight. He also does pretty well in windy conditions. So I think he's a good play, 5%. He'll be a guy that gets in there. I think Keegan, even though he didn't make it, I think is a good play too. Yes, he had a miscut at the Players. He had a good chance to me think about this now. So he was playing against, forgetting now, but he was down 5 going into like the last hole. Was that? I can't think of who he was playing now, but he had a pretty good showing. Not terrible at the WGC. Kind of been back and forth, like a T20, a miscut, a T10, a miscut. You can see pretty good results here. So for the price tag, I don't have a problem with Keegan. Of course, it comes down to the putter. Abe Answer is kind of an interesting one to me. Not a bad course history here, a 13th of 26. So that would be, I believe, the fall November one miscut. But again, it's so hard to play these guys without, actually getting to watch their game and know where they're at. But I think even from a weather perspective, it wasn't bad. Of course, he got his first win at TPC South when, I'm just trying to remember, was that a FedEx Cup event or was that the Colonial Charles Schwab? I think it was a FedEx Cup event. So WGC St. Jude, yeah, that was prior to becoming like just the FedEx Cup event. Not saying that they at all that they're good comparable courses. Let's go look at what has he done at Jack's Place. So not the greatest there. Let's go look at some of the bigger tournaments. Not good at the Genesis. And let's see, what's Wells Fargo? He had a second back in 2021. Those are the kind of the ones I always like. I call them like the mini majors, just to see, tough fields, tough courses. I'm actually gonna play Siwoo Kim. Even though he didn't have the greatest show at the Valero, almost kind of fell apart, almost missed a cut. I think I tweeted out he like had a 9, like hit it 2 provisionals, just blew up on one hole, to be honest. And that was kind of old Siwoo Kim, but I mean the guy's a solid ball striker. He's good around the green. The putter, I think, has improved with the longer kind of, I don't know, we call it long half putter, balanced putter. And the guy's had, he just makes cuts here. So, is he due? Let's go click. I want to see how many more, if any, he's been for the Masters. So he miscut like a lot of the guys the first time he's played her, but since then, it looks like he's kind of figured out his way around the track. Some of that, Tiger, honestly, for 7,300, I mean, no issues, man. I think the guy's going to make the cut. I just think it's going to fall pretty hard after that. Now, again, if I give you kind of a percentage, if I put 20 lineups in, let's say maybe 2 is how many I put Tiger in. So I don't think I need to talk. We talked quite a bit about Tiger. Patrick Reed, again, this is kind of a hard one for me. But I think with the weather, what he did on the DP World Tour recently, the guy, does pretty well around his track, as you can see. Of course, a past champion in 2018. He's kind of a grinded out. I think he's going to be that guy with a chip on his shoulder, really going to want to carry the LIV flag, show what they can do. So all those narratives, that's why I'm playing a bit of Patrick Reed. And like I said, I mean, there's been, of course, incidents. I think even in that DP World Tour where he hit the ball in a tree and somehow got a drop out of there. I don't remember how that all kind of fared out, but there's been some incidents right with him. So the guy likes it, man. He just feeds off it. So we'll just see. At one time, though, he went through a run. Let's go look at this. I feel like it was during like some club changes, but we know he's kind of the elite short game. I just want to go. There's 2022. I think it was even before that. I was thinking somewhere like all of a sudden he lost a putter in a round of green. I mean, where he was a really bad. So that's in 2021. I guess it would be right around here. So the start of the 2022 season. Again, I think that's when he switched to PXG equipment and then quickly said that that's not going to work. A 47th, nothing great. The most recent since he's been on the LIV for the majors, nothing great. But I don't know. This is kind of a different breed when you come here. See Taylor Moore, my model, backed in. I don't want to say backed in, but posted a number at the Valspar and won that thing. Good for him. Like I said, I mean, not for me in this event. Like I said, I'm not going with a lot of rookies. Louis, I feel like his game really fell apart after pretty much had a chance to win that PGA back in 2021. The guy was just doing everything. His irons were nuts. The putter was nuts. And then all of a sudden, man, I think the same thing. I think some of those guys that went to LIV, this is my own personal opinion, literally just took it as a retirement plan and Louis, if like the guy even came out and stated that he's a big, got the tractor, got his farm and all that. And just loves to do that. And I think that's part of it, right? I mean, once he saw like, I got to pay, play 10, 12 tournaments, whatever it is, 14 tournaments a year, and I get this kind of money. So I just feel like kind of Louis is kind of in a retirement mode. That's my own opinion. I will see how that fares. Just side note, I don't know why I just saw this, but the pairings did come out. And I thought it was funny. Some of the LIV guys, I just think of Kevin Nas actually going out, I think with like Sandy Lyle or something like that. They kind of paired some of the guys with like the past champions, early tea time. Now, we'll get to Kevin Nas, I mentioned, because actually I think he's got a great tea time, at least to do well for a first round leader. So, side note, on the LIV guys, Mito Piero, another guy that I will play. Curious where his ownership will come in, but he is like one of the only first timers. But I think just everything that he does should be good, and hopefully, he'll get some knowledge from, some of the veterans will, that of course, even on the LIV side, that'll walk him through and how to play and look at the greens books that they have, and take notes and yada yada yada. So, it's all about missing it in the right places, know when to attack on this course and when not to. You'll talk to a lot of the guys. There's just certain holes that they know they can go after, and there's certain holes you're not, and you know where to miss it. You know where typically the swirling winds are. You know which greens sections to hit. Like, there's so much knowledge that you need to learn around here. Aaron Wise, when you talk about, he is not in the tournament. Killer Keith's been playing good golf, but I'm just kind of, I don't know, not a lot of history, and I don't know. Maybe he's someone to think about. I'm not. I guess I just don't think of Killer Keith doing well in here. The putter, Kitayama had a good, won that. Arnold Palmer looked good. I don't have a problem with sprinkling some Kitty. He just didn't make my cut. I mean, Chris Kirk, of course, just won at the Honda, and didn't have the match play I was looking for, and had a chance at the Valero, kind of fell back. I guess I'm looking for guys with a little more length off the tee because of the weather, the wind, the water. So no, thank you, Sergio. Been terrible what I've been seeing on the LIV, and his game was kind of falling. He was like a ball striking master, not too far off. So let's go look back when he was really playing good golf. I felt like it was still in 2022. Yeah, I guess it was like this stint right here in 2021. Okay, but typically, right, the putter is his little issue. But you can see at least even, before he left, the irons weren't doing what he was looking for. But the guy was at one time, man, driving it out there 3+, hitting a lot of fairways. The irons were pretty good. It was, it was just, did the putter click or not? But for Russ Henley, of course, he is a guy I like to play, but I mean, he's made a ton of cuts here. The guy hits a lot of fairways, usually pretty good with the irons. It is going to come down with a putter. What's got me interested in Russ is, for 7,000, and a good track record here. He's not a rookie coming in here. He's not played. I like to play him. So there you go. Billy Horschel, I still don't know what his swing's doing. He had a good, little better showing at the WGC match play, but that's about it. Like I said, I mean, I told you he was going through swing changes, and I think he's still fighting that. Bubba, no, I put him right there with Mickelson. His game, he was hurt, and I don't think he's recovered from that. And he took also the retirement package, and that's where I look at it. Thomas Peters, not for me. I'm just going to leave it at that. Funny enough, Tom Hoagie, I maybe a little bit of this is because I had higher expectations for him at the Dell match play, and it didn't happen. So maybe I'm a little biased about that, but I think Tom Hoagie's not a bad play. I'll let you in on that. Also, he showed up pretty good in the wind. Now, it's around the green and the putter. He has played here once, had a T39, and, good showing at the Players, the Genesis. So will I sprinkle a little bit of him? Yep. Same with Seamus Power. Funny enough, I'm going off, this is probably on a tangent, but I'm going off with Gooch. And what I know, of course, had a good showing here last year. I don't really remember off the top of my head how he's been doing on the LIV, but the guy is like, I always kind of put him with Burns. I thought they were some of the better ball strikers around. It's what's going to happen with the putter. So that's why I think, again, with the weather, I think he could shock some people. It's kind of for me, a little out there on left field, but that's a LIV guy that I'm going to take a chance on. That maybe not perfect. And Gary Woodland, he's not going in my player pool, but I wanted to just call out that I feel like Gary could, with this weather and his distance for 6,700, if the putter could just do a little more, and he's had some mixed bag of results, could be an interesting thought. Could be maybe the surprise, if we want to say, of the tournament, where he could like top 20. So I'm thinking about that. He's not going to make my final 20, but I just wanted to call that out. Harris English, you already know. Maybe this is I'm just, going sideways here, but I really like what I've been seeing recent out of Harris. And I also, he's played her 3 times, made the cut twice. The Arnold Palmer's the tournament that he showed up, also the Genesis. So a couple of tough tournaments. Now, then you can also look at he missed the players, missed the Honda, but he's kind of had this up and down. For 6,700, I think he'd be very low owned. I'm interested in playing Harris. That's me personally. And if you don't know much about him, right, I think his last one would have been with the Travelers. He also won a Tournament of Champions, but this is all prior to he had a hip injury and surgery. Let's go take a look here. So you can see he was, making his way back, trying to see. He had a good showing again at the Travelers where he won. So yeah, he was playing pretty good golf, and then you can see the hip. He said he was fighting it for quite a while, the pain and getting through it. So I kind of feel like his game's getting back. He's, for 6,700, when I kind of go through who I got the pick down here, you can say Harmon, but I don't feel like he's been playing. He had actually, not to be scatterbrained here, but it was kind of crazy. He had a really good, look at this fall he had. It was, kind of ridiculous. And then something all of a sudden just happened. But he also had a, decent showing here, right here in 2021. That would have been, I don't think that was a DJ year. I feel like that was not. I felt like it was the one that Matsuyama won. Ryan Fox, first time he's playing here, pretty long, but can be a little lengthy. I don't know. I don't really. He's not making the player pool. I brought it up because I think with the distance could be someone to think about. Also with the, European weather, might get sprinkled in. Danny Willett, right, past champion. He's, made the last 5 cuts. Let's go click on Danny. So I mentioned he won here. What was it? 2016. Also, when he won it was crazy weather. So that's what got me interested in him. He had a chance. I forgot that he 3-putted from like 3 feet home. It chipped in. Like, it was crazy that he didn't win. So he should have had another win here at the Fortinet, which I believe was what the old Safeway. But yeah, pretty good showing. So I mean, for that price tag and past champion, and no one, has played here a ton because of that past champion. So I'm going to play some Danny Willett. You can see projected ownership is also a bit on it. Cameron Champ, funny enough, I mean, right? If you guys, I was trying to hope he almost made the cut. I think he missed the cut by a stroke for the Valero, but of course, Sojat's his home course, and the guy just out of nowhere could show up. And then here's the craziest thing with Cameron Champ. A 19th, a 26th, a 10th. His game is just in really bad form, but he seems to do well here. And with the weather that we see coming in the wind, I don't think it's a terrible play. Might have to sprinkle that in. Poston, I believe, was his first time. No, he's played her once before. No, just not me. Pretty good Dell match play, though. Molinari, his game's been pretty rough, but who knows, right? I mean, he had that chance when Tiger was competing with him. I just can't do it. Of course, Kokrak has had a T14 here last year. I told you, for whatever reason, I don't know if it shows up here, but when I think of Kokrak, he's had some wins, and I think they were all on bent greens. Let's take a gander here. So he won at Colonial. Let's see here. The Houston Open. That should be Bermuda. The Charles Schwab. That is bent. And then at Shadow Creek, the CJ Cup, those are bent. And funny enough, I forgot about this, but Shadow Creek, if you remember that tournament, it's in Vegas. That they kind of took I always said it was kind of like an Augusta in the middle of the desert. And he's also had some pretty good finishes. T4, you know what? I might have to play some Kokrak, so I'm just gonna throw that out there. Again, I haven't looked at his live record, but that's a thought. Svensson, big fan, but I don't know. The putter, I mean, playing some good golf. Again, he might make a lineup or two. HV3 showed up here last year, the 23rd. I have no idea where his game's at, but also, might be all right. Kevin, I got to bring him up. Last 3, I mean, I think he's going to get some steam, but I mean, I think his game is not where it was at, but the guy is just crazy. He's had some iron outings that's just been amazing, but typically it's the putter and around the greens. Why I'm a little, back and forth, but now I'm bringing him up. It's not, he didn't make my player pool, but I wanted to bring him up because I wanted you to see, what he has done. But I'm a little worried about the distance with the wet and what, how he'll handle that. And I, again, haven't really seen, I don't know how much he's been doing on the live tour. I don't think much about anything, but maybe might get in there as, like I said, a cheapy play. Charles Schwartzel, out of nowhere, right? Kind of showed up here. Of course, he's a past champion. I think 2011. this says T10, but I mean, I think he came in as the leader or right there on Sunday. But I'm not going to play him, but I just wanted to bring that to your attention. Mackenzie Hughes, I was kind of back and forth on. I told you I kind of like his game for here. A little nervous what he'll do here in the ball striking side, but man, around the green and putting, he can get super hot. Of course, he made out of his player pool for the Dell match play. I'm actually going to go with Seb Straka, which a little bit of this is due to the weather conditions. So he did play here last year, had a T30. Of course, won the Honda, was pretty, pretty windy, pretty tough conditions, had a good showing there again. Just total side note, in his practice round yesterday, I believe on 12, he had a hole-in-one. That is not the main reason why I'm picking this, but hey, it's not a terrible thing when he walks up to 12. Hopefully, and the flag was pretty close up front. I mean, it was a crazy shot. If you find it on tweet, I should look on Twitter. It should be there, but pretty cool. Yeah, I think he was actually playing with Abe Answer, funny enough, and a couple other guys. I can't remember. Stallings, no. I think from here, it's kind of, we're just going to cruise through these guys. Zach Johnson, of course, past champion. No, thank you. Kisner's been bad. I mentioned Sam Bennett. If you want to get nutty, I just think the guy's got a ton of game. Now, don't look at any of this. None of that helps you. He had a T49 at the U.S. Open. If you want to go do some research on him, on what he's done in his collegiate career, it's been crazy. And I mean, out of all these guys, he beats kind of, I mean, Bernhard Langer, funny enough, he made the cut here. Was it back in 2021? Even then he was making cuts. I mean, in the last 2 years, not, but the guy's still playing amazing golf on the senior tour. And I think that's it. Yeah, that's it. So let's go jump out. Let me wrap this up for you guys and get you out of here. Okay, so to summarize who I will be going with in my player pool that I'm excited about for my top 5 picks. Of course, right off the bat, Scotty Scheffler. I don't usually like to pick the most expensive guy, but man, everything is telling you that with the weather coming and what this guy's been playing like and his steadiness, it's had a good chance again to win the WGC match play. Friday didn't have his best game. And that's what's amazing with Scotty is, yes, he's a good scrambler. He's got all the tools, but man, around the green is amazing. Under pressure, amazing. He won it last year, and even pretty much just terrified of what was going to be transpiring that Sunday. Not terrified, but just a lot of emotions, I guess, better way to put it. And still pulled it out. So amazing for Scotty. Xander, we haven't seen the best, but this tournament, I think, brings out the best of him. And also, I liked what I saw at the match play out of him, too. And a guy under the weather, I think he'll grind it out. He's got a ton of experience here and just seems to figure out a way to do it. So I like Xander as my number 2 in. Homa, this is probably, I think is going to be a little bit of a differentiation because I think everybody's going to look at his past, history at this course, but just as in the majors, he's not done well. This is his turn. I mean, I think it's just time to start to change that narrative and show that his game is taking that next level. And I hope that everything he's been doing well. He's been ball striking great. The putter's great. Like I said, the only little chink is still around the green at times, but I really like Max. And then Patrick Cantlay. So funny enough, I told you to play the guys that you like. I mean, I'm not a huge Patrick Cantlay fan. I'll tell you that right now. But for whatever reason, that's where my first thought went, who had a chance. That no one's talking about Patrick Cantlay. So it'll be interesting to see. But when I think of bent greens, I think of this course. I think of Patrick Cantlay could do very well. And then last but not least for my top 5, this is probably a little more, of course, recent form's been great. Tony's never missed a cut here, right? He had a 3rd place finish on a broken ankle pretty much after the par 3 contest. And, but I know what the guy can do in the wind. It's, if he can just have a little magic with the putter, watch out. So that's my top 5 guys. My next guy is in kind of, pick 2, I would say. So if you think about it from a DFS perspective, you lead off. Maybe you could put a couple of these guys together, of course, as you get down here. But if you have Scheffler, then, you pair one of these guys up. It's going to be a little tougher. But you can literally start some of your lineups with some of these guys. No problem. I told you Victor why I'm high on him is that I think he's really, really been focusing on the short game. With the weather, the cold, I think the guy can play really well in those conditions. And, of course, we all know he's an elite ball striker. But if that putter just, I've been watching him, it's just been getting a lot of edge burns. Some of those drop. Watch out for Victor. DJ, one of the LIV guys I'm going to be putting in. I mean, you've seen, I kind of mentioned out of the LIV guys, he's the only guy that's really contended at all or had decent finishes in the last 2 opens. Of course, past champion here. I think he's going to be the one that wants to kind of prove it out here. Sungjae M, is like a robot. That's what it is. It's the putter. I've seen the guy where, he has one day of really good putting, one day you can't make anything, but one thing you're going to get out of him is he's going to hit fairways and greens and give himself opportunities. Also pretty good around the green. Shane Lowry, this one, like I said, this is a weather play plus, he's had a good history here. He had a T3 last year or a third. I don't know if it was T3 or third, but it's the putter is what's been kind of lacking right now. I was expecting Lowry to have a better Florida swing like he did last year. It did not happen. But, like I said, the weather blows. I like this guy. I like his kind of low fade he hits. He can play all the shots in the wind and no issues in the weather. And then JR, also, of course, he won at Pebble Beach. The guy has had chances to win here in the past. Was your first round leader a couple of years back. And for the price tag, the guy, what he can do with the putter, the guy's just steady. And really his ball striking has gotten a lot better in my eyes over the last, year comparative. All right, now some of the young sun guys to kind of fill it out. Of course, Tommy Fleetwood never had a win on, we said this on U.S. soil, but again, give me the weather, give me Tommy, and that he's shown that he can play through that. He's also had a pretty nice Florida swing, pretty steady. Minwoo Lee, right, showed up the players. He played here once before, had a 14th last year. The guy's an elite talent, also has played quite a bit on the European Tour, so I'll go with him. Corey Connors, again, proven here, also great in a win, just had to win the Valero. Of course, prior win, his only win before that was there, and been playing really good golf, and he's coming with a ton of confidence, so I'm all over Corey. Siwoo, not the greatest showing at the Valero, but a lot of that came down to one hole. And I know that because I was watching it very closely because I had him in Showdown. And but the guy, has done very well here. Great ball striker. And, the putter, I think, has gotten better. And it's shown that. That's why he's had some of the finishes he's had. So, yeah, no problem with going with Siwoo. And then there you go, man. I had to throw that in there. When you're past, 2016, I said, I'm going to go with Patrick. I just think, man, the guy is going to feed off this whole kind of chip on his shoulder he's always had. But, man, especially with the LIV against the PGA guys. And he hits that draw, can hit a lot of the shots. He's typically a magician around the greens, and the putter can get crazy hot. He was a good putter. Like I said, I'm saying a lot of that because I watched his around the green and putting fall away a little bit before he went to the LIV Tour. So we'll have to see where that's at. All right, finally the cheapies, the guys low sevens down to 6. Of course, Mito Piero is one of the rookies that I'm playing, but just elite. I sort of showed you what he had at the Memorial last year, Jack's Place. So I think is a good play. Russ Henley gets it around here. Hits a lot of fairways. Can be elite with the irons, and also it's all about the putter with Russ. So and also has had a lot of made cuts at this event. Gooch, I think one of the better ball strikers that we even had on the PGA Tour at times. Played the really tough courses very well. Funny enough, where he got his win, I remember talking about this quite a bit. I was betting him on a lot of the tougher tracks. He got to the RSM, and I wasn't betting him, and he won. His one went on tour, and then not too long after, he went to the LIV, funny enough. But I like Gooch here for the price tag. Straka, this one, I can't get him right. When I play him, it just never works out, and I don't play him. But, I mean, the guy has won in bad weather at the Honda. I'll say a pretty good showing at the Olympics. I always remember that. But, I mean, I don't know. I think for the price tag, he's pretty steady. He's also had a pretty decent track record here at Augusta. And then, of course, one of the other past champions, Danny Willett, been, made the last 6 cuts he's played in. He's, low 6s. And, I think he's going to be a little chalky down there because he feels like a stable play if you're going to get down there in the low 6s. So that's it. I greatly appreciate you guys spending some time with me. I hope that helps you in the Milli-Maker, gives you some ideas of guys that you want to play because you got to see a lot of information. You know who I'm kind of looking at. And I told you, even with that didn't make my top 20, there's going to be some guys I still plug and play. Enjoy the Masters. It's going to be amazing. I hope the weather holds up. I hope we don't get a lot of delays and pushes and all that. That's out of everything I'm hoping for. That's the number one, is that the golf gets finished on a daily basis. We'll put it that way. All right, guys, if you do me the honor, click that like button, subscribe if you're not a subscriber, because I do have that giveaway, and I need you to tell me who you think is actually going to win the Masters. There will be announcements tomorrow on the winners of the top 5, or the 5 people that get randomly selected. And as always, follow me on Twitter for all my anecdotes and all the information that I keep an eye on and tweet out as the tournament progresses. And with that said, I'm excited to watch the rest of the pressers. I guess it's Champions Dinner tonight, and we've got more pressers during the day Tuesday. And then we're getting really close for this thing kicking off. I'm super excited. I think the LIV thing for me really does add a whole new variable that's kind of most interesting part of the whole thing. See how that all flushes out. All right, guys. Talk to you tomorrow when I do my Before the Lock show and get you ownership projections. We'll talk more about weather, anything I see in pressers, anything you need to know before you lock in those final lineups. All right, guys. Talk to you later.